In 2014, during my nutrition undergrad schooling, I studied abroad in Italy to study the Mediterranean diet. The program that I was taking studied both the science behind the Mediterranean diet as well as the culinary aspects of it too. And the Mediterranean diet does have a lot of studied health benefits, but from my experience of studying all different aspects of the Mediterranean diet in Italy, most people who start the Mediterranean diet end up making some really serious mistakes that end up causing them to gain weight and probably even worsen their health. Today, I'm sharing 7 really big Mediterranean diet mistakes to avoid if you actually want to see weight loss and wellness results while using it. Let's dive into it. My name's Autumn and I'm a certified clinical nutritionist with my master's nutrition human performance, and today's video is sponsored by Element. More on them in a bit. Okay, the first mistake is drinking a lot of alcohol. First, it's important to note that with the Mediterranean diet, the benefits are seen with specifically wine, not alcohol in general. So drinking alcohol in general, like beer or hard alcohol, does not have the same benefits. Now, the Mediterranean diet is notoriously loose with its recommendations, but you'll often see the recommendation of about 2 drinks per day for men and 1 drink per day for women, again, specifically coming from wine. But many people's idea of what a serving of wine really is going to be vastly different. Within the context of the Mediterranean diet, a serving of wine is defined as 5 ounces of about a 12% alcohol wine. Now in California, where I live, most wines are going to be on average about 13.5% alcohol. And then on top of that, a lot of restaurants are usually pouring about 6 ounces. And that's if you're going to a restaurant where they're going to be a little bit more particular about how much wine they're serving. But to put this into perspective, a typical wine glass can hold anywhere between 12 to 16 ounces of liquid. So if you're pouring it yourself, you can see there's a lot of room for error. And some researchers of the Mediterranean diet are even suggesting removing the recommendation of adding in red wine entirely. This is especially if you are under the age of 35. People tend to have an increased risk of accidental death or increased risk of breast cancer when they add in alcohol. Not to mention some people are slow metabolizers of alcohol, and you can get a lot of the same antioxidant benefits from not drinking wine and having other antioxidant rich foods that the Mediterranean diet is already plentiful in. So if you are going to add wine into your Mediterranean diet, there are a few things you need to consider. First, you need to make sure it fits your genetics. If you're a slow metabolizer, then it's probably not good for you to add in any wine. Second, realize that it could cause you more harm than good, especially if you're under the age of 35. The third is to stick to lower alcohol wine, preferably a dry farm wine from Italy. And then fourth is to stick to a true serving of wine. This is one that you'll definitely want to make sure you actually measure out. Now, before we move on, I want to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, Element. Element is an amazing electrolyte company that was specifically created with intermittent fasting, low carb eating, and athletes in mind. They actually contain the sodium, magnesium, and potassium to help balance out electrolyte levels, all without having any sugar. As a nutritionist, I've been using Element for years now to make sure that I'm properly hydrated, especially because I'm active. It's easy for me to get something like headaches or muscle cramps from having low electrolyte levels, and Element just makes it so easy to actually get my electrolytes in because it tastes so good. My all-time favorite flavor is their grapefruit salt, but they also come in a lot of other different flavors too that taste so good, like their citrus, raspberry, and orange. And right now, Element is offering my viewers a free sample pack with any order. That's 8 single-serve packets free with any Element order. It's a really great way to test out all 8 flavors, so you can get yours at drinkelement.com/autumn. This is only available through my link, so make sure to check out drinklmnt.com/autumn. The link is also in the description down below. Okay, the second mistake that people make is eating a lot of pasta. Now, yes, pasta in its various forms is part of the Mediterranean diet, but it's probably not the reason why people are so healthy in the Mediterranean, because also part of the Mediterranean diet is that people are very active. And when you're very active, your muscles are able to absorb a lot of that excess glucose from things like pasta. But many people who are told to do the Mediterranean diet or prescribed to do the Mediterranean diet for health purposes are usually not as active. They often are also not very metabolically healthy and might have insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes. In these circumstances, it is not wise to be adding in a refined type of carbohydrate that is very high glycemic load like pasta. Pasta can very quickly raise blood sugar levels, it's not very satiating, and it's really easy to eat a lot more than our body really needs. This could quickly lead to a worsening outcome of blood sugar levels as well as increased weight gain. However, there have been studies done on a low-carb version of the Mediterranean diet for people with PCOS, and PCOS is often tied to insulin resistance. Now, this version of the Mediterranean diet found that it helped to improve various markers for those with PCOS when compared to a low-fat diet. It found that it improved hormones, reduced waist circumference, and helped to improve various blood glucose markers. So the Mediterranean diet can absolutely still be used even if you do have something like insulin resistance, such as with PCOS, but it does does need to be adjusted to actually fit what your goals and health outcomes are. Where on the flip side, if you are very active and you have high energy demands, your muscles are absorbing a lot of glucose, then in those circumstances, having occasional pasta probably will be fine. Okay, the third big mistake people are making is sticking to low-fat dairy. Now, this is an example of how we took the Mediterranean diet and we tried to make it fit what we in America expected should work. In this case, sticking to low-fat dairy. And traditionally, this is not what people ate in the Mediterranean. Studying abroad, I saw a lot of dairy, all of it full fat. Yogurt, kefir, cheeses, milk. I even got to visit various traditional cheese manufacturers. Cheese was definitely plentiful, and yogurt was often a breakfast staple no matter where we went. And it turns out studies are finding that full-fat dairy is actually better in a lot of different ways. It's been found to be inversely associated with obesity, so those who eat more full-fat dairy are less likely to be obese. It's also not been found to increase your risk of cardiovascular disease. Full-fat dairy is also going to be more rich in fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin K2, which is crucial for bone and heart health. So according to current research, as well as traditional Mediterranean wisdom, we're so much better sticking to the full-fat dairy options. Okay, the fourth mistake is assuming it's plant-based. This is easy to assume because it's often advertised as such, which I don't understand how. Traditional Mediterranean diet uses a lot of different animal products, like we just talked about dairy, but also pork, lamb, goat, fish, and then of course eggs and sometimes beef. This is probably one of the most widely contested parts of the Mediterranean diet because of possibly false reporting on the initial study on the Mediterranean diet. The original study that the Mediterranean diet is based on, called the 7-country study, those researchers visited some of the countries during a time of Lent, specifically Greece. And during Lent, people avoid meat and dairy. So that really skewed the outcomes of what researchers thought that people ate in that area. And animal proteins are a very important contributor to protein intake. It's the easiest to digest source of protein. It's a very high diaz protein, which does mean it's easy to digest and absorb and break down. It's very high in critical nutrients like iron and zinc. Animal proteins are also very satiating and very hard to overeat. In fact, studies done on eating more protein found that it's more effective at achieving a weight loss goal than just counting calories and restricting your intake. Eating enough protein from high quality sources like those animal-based sources is also crucial for maintaining strength and bone health and preventing anemia. And when you actually look at the traditional Mediterranean diet, there are a lot of different instances of these animal-based proteins throughout various traditional meals. Now, these proteins are also balanced with high quality sources of plant-based foods too, which is really crucial for those additional antioxidants. So we want to get a complete plate of all of those factors that actually will help with overall goals. Now, if you're wondering how much protein you need to eat in a day, I have a totally free protein calculator. You don't even have to add in your email address to see the results. I'll have it linked down description below if you want to check that out. Okay, the fifth mistake is eating American Mediterranean foods. Again, the guidelines are so notoriously loose with the Mediterranean diet that it is really easy to apply our own idea of what a Mediterranean diet meal might be. This results in us eating a lot of foods that we think of as Mediterranean, like pizza, or perhaps focusing on larger serving sizes of pasta. We might even have some yogurt, but we'll add in a lot of sugar into that yogurt. Or we'll just simply ignore the fact that we need to be eating less processed foods and eating more of our foods made from home. This removes a lot of the actual health benefits of the Mediterranean diet and can actually result in a worsening of health and weight loss outcomes. Okay, the sixth mistake is not incorporating exercise. Now, we typically think of the Mediterranean diet as just a diet, but when you actually look at the food pyramid for the Mediterranean diet, it's not just food. A key component of the Mediterranean diet is also staying active. That helps to absorb those excess glucose, helps to stabilize blood sugar level, and it also can just help with mental health too. But lots of people will apply the different principles like eating more pasta without adding in exercise, which can lead to that weight gain that we mentioned earlier. Now, traditionally in the Mediterranean, a lot of people had more active jobs, which did make it a lot easier to stay active. And this can be tricky with our more modern lifestyle. But a few things to consider trying to add in is adding 10,000 steps per day. This is why I love having a step tracker, so I can actually keep track of how much I'm walking every day and go out for a walk when I know that I need to get more steps in. Definitely don't underestimate the benefits of walking. Just walking daily can really substantially increase various health outcomes. Okay, the seventh huge mistake is not adding conviviality. This is the social component of eating with others. And this is very important in the Mediterranean diet. In fact, this was an entire section that we focused on within my course studying the Mediterranean diet. Eating with others promotes a sense of community, which is really important for mental health, but eating with others also prevents us from eating in front of a TV or a phone, and therefore helps prevent us from mindlessly eating and not actually paying attention to when we're actually feeling full and satisfied. This conviviality helps to increase that feeling of connectedness, has various positive health benefits, and just is so much more fun if we're being honest. And there's really simple ways that we can do this even with our more modern lifestyle, like just having nightly family dinners is really big, inviting friends over on the weekend to have dinner at your house, or even just taking the time to have lunch with a coworker instead of just having lunch at your desk or on your own. Now, if you are on a weight loss journey, you can check out the 5 signs that you're actually burning fat with this video next. Also, if you're new to my channel and you love this science-backed information, make sure you subscribe right here. Come out new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video.